ambulance coming up on me. Party in the sky. Motorway ambulance matching my speed in the fast lane. Come on, mate. On a horse, on a horse. That's it, ambulance. Go save some lives. Nice shot though. Good for YouTube. Look at this little white reflective ball of twat just hanging out in the sky. Squeaky little asshole won't stop following me, all territorial. Yeah, I'll take you out with a flick of my pinky, you little bastard. Oh, and you're off, you've given up. Good morning from sunny, slightly warm Swinton. It's early October. This is story time with Charlie Veitch. First story comes very recently. I was in the Queen's Head pub in Kelso with my dad and his friend Ian, who's a British expat, who's a teacher in Hong Kong for 33 years, but very Scottish, very Scottish. And he was commenting, Charlie, when you stand up, your head is that close to the ceiling, because it's like an old pub, you know, like a 400-year-old building. And I was like, yeah, so I started joking about being really tall, and I was like, you know, things I hate is looking down on everyone and being hated by smaller men. And as I said that, it was a private conversation between three guys. Some short arse Scotsman at the next table goes, oh, for fuck's sake! And he was just, I think it was automatic, and it just revealed he was there, stewing over his ale, listening into my private chat. And it just shows, like, I get hated just automatically by a lot of people. I am a bit of a twat, but I'm monetizing my twattiness to try and feed my kids, so you do what you can. Next story's coming up. Story number 2. Look at that beautiful sunrisey thing behind me. So, when the lockdown first started back in March, I think it was early April, I was queuing to go into Aldi in Swinton, and there was a security guard, and he was like, he was Eastern European, and I'll get onto that in a second. A lot of my business partners are Eastern European, and that's relevant, I'll tell you in a sec. So I'm going in, and he goes, where's your mask? Where's your mask? And I said, oh, I'm sorry, I have a medical exemption. He goes, what? I said, I have a medical exemption. And he's like, starts instantly taking the piss. He goes, what? What are you saying to me? I said, I have a medical exemption. He goes, oh, show me then, show me your papers. I was like, excuse me, I'm not gonna discuss my private medical details with a stranger. And then I said, look, I don't like your attitude. Will you please get the manager? And he's like, go in, next time you show your papers. And I was like, so I went in, and I was stewing, I was getting angry. So I came out, and then there was a bit of an audience there, a bit of a queue. And I said to him, I said, look, I don't like your attitude. Like, you can't just go asking strangers about their private medical details. And so he took the bait, and he's like, and he started saying his nonsense, this is security guard nonsense. So as I was putting my trolley back and getting my pound out, that's a very British thing. I don't know if that's the same around the world. In slightly less, in more deprived areas, to prevent teenagers throwing shopping trolleys in the river, you use a pound. That's a great deterrent, you know. Turns out, all it takes for a kid to not dump a trolley in a river is the thought of spending £1. So I'm putting my trolley away, so I mutter, ah, fuck you. And he goes, excuse me, and he comes like squaring up to me, and he's a stocky guy, not tall, but big. And I'm like, and so everyone's watching this drama unfold. And in his mind, he was like, I bet this tall twat isn't gonna say it. So I knew what to do. So in front of everyone, I went, fuck you. And then he's like, oh. So he starts saying, hate crime, hate crime, hate crime. And crazy. So he gets his little clipboard out. He's like, I get witness. I've got witnesses. Witnesses. Hate crime. You're going to get arrested. Stick around. I'm like, whoa. have I bitten off a bit more than I can chew with this crazy? So I'm walking back towards my old company car, and he's running, and I'm like, I don't give a fuck, like I know enough about UK law. You can tell someone to F off in public. So he's running towards me, and he's got his clipboard out, his high-vis jacket, and he's watching me get into my car, and he's taking down my license plate. So before I get into the driver's seat, I point at him one more time and say, "You're a fucking slave." And he instantly goes, oh, you just called me a foreign slave. A foreign slave, you're racist, racist, hate crime, hate crime. I got witnesses. So I drive off, and so I go home, and I kind of ponder this. I have a couple of beers, bad idea, and I go back later that day, and I just kind of confront him, and he's squirming a little bit, and I'm there, and people are asking me to leave. Not proud of it. I'm going to pause this to look at this little squirrely little twat over here. One sec. Oh, it's a nut rat. Hey, nut rat, you going to come say hello? Come here, nut rat. Hey. Oh, nut rats are so cute. So, as I'm, you know, there causing a slightly drunken scene, not proud of it, I notice his name tag, and it's N-I-S-I-C is his surname, which I believe is pronounced Nizic. So I speak to my Serbian buddies over in Belgrade, and I say, do you know the name Nisic? Is that Eastern Europe? He goes, yeah, it's a Serbian name. And I was like, well, there you go then. And it goes to show, again, this is to end it on a positive note, you can't judge anyone. You can't have stereotypes. You can't be nationalist or racist, because you'll always find examples of amazing people from every country and every race, and you'll always find examples of absolute twats of every race and every nationality. So there you go. Now the third story in Charlie's story time, I'm going to keep this one short. You may remember maybe 9 months ago, just before the lockdown, there was a VE Day or D-Day, you know, one of these World War II celebrations where our veterans, they dress in their military, official, formal dress, and they go out and they take a 1-minute silence for their fallen brethren, and etc. So there was one in Eccles in Salford, and let me just swap hands here. So there's one in Eccles, and there was a bunch of like 90-year-olds, 89-year-olds, people in wheelchairs. And there was a pub that was occupied by squatters. Now all that means for the international audience is when you occupy a building that isn't being used and you try and claim some sort of residential temporary right there. And nothing against that, you know, if you can't afford it, squat. If someone's not using an abandoned building, fair enough. But this guy, completely crazy, decides to fire off some rocket fireworks into the parade of elderly gentlemen. And can you imagine, you've got long-term PTSD, you've seen your comrades fight and die alongside you from artillery and bombs, and some asshole fires rockets into you. Anyway, it's on YouTube. Again, forgive my retardation. I will probably forget to put the links in the description box, but I'll try. So it was the Prince Albert or the King Albert or something Albert pub. And on video, it's on Facebook and YouTube, an angry mob of understandably upset people went to lynch him. And the police got there and arrested him for obviously a very bad public order offence and terrifying a bunch of oldies. Could have caused a heart attack. And he got taken away. So that evening, or the next evening, I was filming outside the pub in Eccles. And let's say I was smoking, I don't do this anymore, I've quit. But this is 9 months ago, I was smoking a special cigarette and having a great time. And so I'm there, about to start filming, just toking away, and the police car pulls up beside me and goes, "What are you doing?" And I was like, oh shit. So I put on my best fake American accent and say, "Ah, I'm doing dark tourism. I saw this on the news. This is where the guy fired the rocket into the parade of the veterans. And it was a solitary, I do not know her marital status. It was a solitary female officer in a Vauxhall Astra police car. And she didn't get out of the car. I think she was just far away enough from the wind in the wrong direction to not smell my cigarette. And she uses that authority that is usually fantastic fodder for my channel. She's like, well, I'm gonna have to ask you to leave. You have to vacate this area. There's far right wanting to attack this building and get the inhabitants, and the guy's arrested, but there's still protection order against the other people, so can you please leave now? Just go. And there I was like, and like usually when faced with that level of authority, I'd be like, I'd do my usual thing. But you know, you gotta pick what hill to die on. And so because I was caught in flagrante, and this is how pathetic this country is. Had this been Holland, the Netherlands, or even Canada, or even America in certain parts, you're there smoking whatever you're smoking, nobody gives a shit. But here in conformity regulation Britain, I was like, okay, tail between my legs, and I walked away, and I could see the female officer. She had this sudden burst of like, yeah, I showed that American, fuck yeah, authority. And so I left, and that's that story. And it's been again rattling around my brain for a long time. And the last story is a quick one. It actually takes place in the same pub as I was with my dad and the expat Ian. So later on that hour, short-arse Scotsman who took offence at the tallness of the Veitch had left, and I was smartly dressed in my tweed and my nice dark green countryside jumper, and I was like, oh, I need to go for a pee to the other guys, or I need to go to the toilet. So I stood up, and as I stood up, some battle axe hag, again, it could have been, I'll insult men and women. I get accused sometimes of sexism, you know. Why are you criticizing the women as like fucking witches? No, the men are bastards as well. So as I stood up, this hag, she scowls at me like real bulldog face. I gotta stop this. I gotta stop criticizing the appearance of people. I'm such a shallow. C-U-N-T. I gotta stop swearing. So she like stares at me and she goes, if you're gonna go to the toilet, you gotta put your mask on. And I look at her stunned. My dad looks at her, Ian, like, because again, it's like, it's no one's business. You know, it's not like, I would never dream of that. So again, my brain was like tick, 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 tick. I wasn't drinking. It was like middle of the day. I was having orange juice, Coca-Cola, all that bullshit. And you know when like, I'm gonna tie this into my videos. You know when like someone is looking for a conflict, they're desperate to get those hooks into you. They're desperate to get their S-protein fucking things into your ACE2 receptors. And so I ignored her. I like pretended she didn't exist. I had to look at her and I was like quickly just turned to my dad and Ian and just started talking to them as if nothing happened. Now, I do have a medical exemption, but I do carry the feed bag, the cow mask, just in case. And so I did put it on, but she was disappointed. And it's great, F you, that I didn't take her on and start an argument, because she was primed, she was locked and loaded. She had 2 shotgun shells in the barrel of her brain pointed at me. And I was like calm as a Hindu cow. And it goes to show, like, I've done a video praising certain auditors. I'm very honest that, you know, what's interesting about my videos sometimes is people cannot resist the authority. They just hate someone enjoying life. They gotta stick their control freakery in. And here's the thing, like the way I acted to that lady by ignoring her and pretending she didn't exist, which did actually trigger her even more. When I'm filming outside an institution or somewhere or something interesting and idiots in high vis with certain colored haired beards start attacking me, if they just ignored it, then it would be amazing. And I'd have nothing to film. So people are so messed up and look at that beautiful sun. Look at that. Oh, by the way, some people keep commenting I'm losing my hair, and I just comment, yes. Yes, I am. So don't react. Let it go. Let it go. And those are your stories for today.